And I feel like the story hit me so much where I was like, what if the jackal didn't say anything because he knew if he did, he would never get a chance. What if Jackal in his rule did something really good? So I don't know what it was about the story. It really hit me, and I was like, you know what? I want to make it the Painted Jackal because I want to create toys, or I want to create stories that help children understand that every child has their own spark in them. Like ChatGPT, everything, we're more prone to maybe communicating in English now, which is why we're doing that with our own children. I feel like our primary language is now becoming English. We do want our children to know, our mother tongue, which is Urdu. Ideally, be that their primary language.
Welcome to In Sync, a podcast about the lives we all want to really live and figuring out how to get there. Hi everyone, welcome back to InSync. I'm your host Anmol Irfan, and today's episode is all about making things colorful. Our guest today is a self-taught visual communications designer who spent 8 years working in advertising with both Pakistani and international clients. But after becoming a mother of two, Maria Adil transitioned into freelance branding, and today she's building the Painted Jackal, a children's brand where she's aiming to combine design, storytelling, and illustration to create thoughtful toys and learning experiences that celebrate language, spark curiosity, and inspire a child's imagination. And Maria, I'm so excited to have you here on the podcast today, especially after seeing your first product, which is the English and Urdu bilingual flashcards. And I think we have so much to discuss with everything that you have planned and everything you've done so far.
Thank you so much, Anmol, for having me. It means so much. And I'm really looking forward to answering all of your questions and also helping other people understand how this is done.
So, Maria, just to get us started, I know that you have two young kids. So, other than a strong cup of chai or coffee, what is it that gets you out of bed in the morning?
Honestly, my babies, they're literally my two. The biggest factor for me to get out of bed is I always wash my face or whatever. My son actually wakes me up in the morning because he wakes up before me, and just spend at least a good half an hour with him. And then obviously then uske baad, after I fully wake up, that's when my mind starts working, and then I start getting on to work. So work is, I guess, the second thing that I'm like, okay, you know what, till 5:30, because that's my aim, that till 5:30 I work. I try to get whatever I can done for that day, and I try to prioritize whatever I have. So yeah, these are the two things that get me out of bed every day.
I think that's so sweet. But also, speaking of work, tell us a little bit more about the Painted Jackal. I know it's a relatively new project for you, and it's something that you've been working on and developing for quite some time. So, what's inspired it? What's the story behind it? I'd want to know everything.
Okay, so honestly, there was a series of things to which led to me wanting to start the Painted Jackal. तो पहला तो ये था कि I was pregnant with my second child, and I remember back then I would just read a lot of books to my child, like my firstborn. And he had a speech delay. He started having a speech delay right around the time I got pregnant, because I think I was not in the right headspace. I was just having a difficult time with my pregnancy. But I remember in that time I was like, you know what, because he's having a speech delay, there are things that I need to do in order to change that. And also mostly in the family, a lot of our family members, we all mostly talk in English. So my son was very much used to talking in English. Usko Urdu nahi aati thi bilkul bhi. Abhi bhi, I would say his primary language is still English. Urdu he understands, but he chooses not to say the words. So my thing was, you know what, I just want to make a set of flashcards for my own child. Any flashcard that I would get in the market, I didn't really like, it was a little confusing. There was too much in it. It's either for older people or then I was like, maybe I should buy him some Urdu books. So I went out in the market, I found these Urdu books, and I was like, they're not great, to be very honest. Some were, but the ones where just तरह आप कह लो कि Apple को Urdu English में लिखा हुआ है, वो मुझे I didn't really like them. I didn't like the quality of them. I thought just everything about them, I was like, it wasn't very appealing. I did end up getting one, and I did teach him with that, but that happened. And then this one day I was playing with my son, and he has these blocks, ठीक है, और उन blocks के ऊपर लिखा हुआ है 1 2 3 4 5 in English, obviously 1 2 3 4 5. And I was teaching him 1 2 3 4 5, and I was like, you know what, I should also teach him it in Urdu like ek, do, teen, char, panch. So I was doing that, and I was thinking, like while looking around all of his other toys, I was thinking like, why is it that every time I go to the market, there's no toy that I find that represents our culture or like many other cultures? Why is it that all toys are very standardized to like the Western culture? Like, why is that the standard, And that kind of really bothered me, like, for a bit. Like, I was like, maybe I haven't, like, looked around as much, maybe I should just go out in the market, check stuff out. And I did that. I like went around, I went to one shop, I went to other shops. I even went to Lok Versa because I wanted to figure out what the scene is. I spoke to like a bunch of people there. And I realized that a lot of these artisanal people, like these people are making these like small toys, like they'll make like these small rickshaws, they'll make like these small puppets or whatever, but no one's like really actually working towards creating a toy brand that represents or celebrates our culture, our language, or like at least just showcases our aesthetics. So that was like my main thing, where initially though I was just like, what, I want to make a brand that is just based around Pakistan. So my idea evolved a lot over time. So that was my aim first कि मैं पाकिस्तान सिखाऊंगी बच्चों को, मैं उर्दू सिखाऊंगी बच्चों को. I'll make like toys or books or flashcards that teach Urdu, that teach you about the regions, whatnot. And then as I was like, doing my research and like, I started illustrating by then, I started to think, why not like actually create a world, around like these products, and I remember this one day my husband came to me, like he sat down with me and we were trying to come up with these names. And he told me about this fable, the story about the jackal. And it actually comes from our part of the like our region. So the story is basically about this jackal, and this jackal who's basically misunderstood, and they all like all the animals in the jungle, they believe that the jackal is very conniving or whatever, and he's basically known as that. So this one day the jackal goes inside this village, and he's trying to find food, and he stumbles upon like these random tubs of paint. So by the time he like is like gets out of that village, he's covered with like his whole body is covered with paint. So when he enters the jungle, all of these animals look at him like, who is this creature? Where did he come from? Ye kya hai? And he didn't say anything. Like he didn't say that, oh, I am the jackal. He just didn't say anything. And for some reason, I don't know why in the story, the lion decided to make this jackal, who he thought looked like a divine, whatever, the predecessor. And then the jackal became king. The jackal didn't say anything while he was ruling. And then apparently it rained, or I don't know, he instinctively howled when he heard these other jackals. But the moral of this particular story was the fact that they shunned the jackal. But for some reason, when like my husband told me the story, I don't know why it didn't sit right with me. I know that's the fable. I know that's how they made it. And yes, you shouldn't lie and you shouldn't pretend to be something you're not. But what like I didn't like about it was the fact that so many people, like even children, like this is something that hit me so much, because I feel like when you're younger, you're stereotyped to be something else. For example, like for me, like I would say I was always on the creative side. I was not really into studies like my sister. Like she was a high achiever. I was not, and I was stereotyped to be like good at nothing. And I feel like the story hit me so much, where I was like, what if the jackal didn't say anything because he knew if he did, he would never get a chance. What if Jackal in his rule did like something really good? So I don't know what it was about the story. It really hit me, and I was like, you know what? I want to make it the Painted Jackal, because I want to create toys, or I want to create stories that help children understand that every child has their own spark in them. That's one of the things like I wanna showcase to them, and also like accept who you are, accept where you come from, and be very proud of that. And that is our own identity as like South Asians. Like we need to be proud of where we are, where we belong. So yeah, all of these things kind of made me want to create the Painted Jackal. I want to create a brand that very much primarily like represents our culture, our language, through stories and toys and books.
Wow, I was not expecting that story when I asked about the inspiration, and I love it. I think it's so interesting how you've connected what you said as a story with a very different moral that we're taught to something completely separate, about creativity and understanding our identity. And I think that is really important. And I think creative people do tend to think like that, think out of the box. You listen to a
Yeah.
story, or you listen to or you'll see something happening, or you listen to someone talking, and you really connect that to something very different. And I think that's why creativity and inspiring children's imagination is so important, and honing that creative sense. Like you said, you probably grew up feeling very different from your sister who was a high achiever academically, because that's what we keep pushing for children, right? Grades
Yeah,
aani hai, do well in school, do this, be disciplined, be that, and we somehow lose sight of that creativity. And I know
yeah,
that a lot of recent studies have been showing that actually for children, being bilingual really helps them develop a certain part of their brain. It really helps with their growth as well. And I know that
yeah.
your
That
flashcards that I've seen are in English and in Urdu, and not just, apple and save, but I know that you've written some affirmations in Urdu, which I found really sweet, and there's some riddles. And we rarely see bilingual toys really actually appreciating the language, like you said yourself when you were researching. So, why do you
yeah.
think that lack of product, or I guess that lack of appreciation of language is there? And how are you hoping to change that, not just with the flashcards, but the products you have planned in the future?
Honestly, like I think it's just our generation, right? Like it's also me. Like, it's not just everybody. I think people do appreciate the language. It's just I feel like our generation, because of maybe social media, like our access to, like, everything that's online, like chat GPT, everything, we're more prone to, like, maybe communicating in English now, which is why we're doing that for their own children. But I feel like within all of us, even if I feel like our primary language is now becoming English, we do want our children to know, our mother tongue, which is Urdu, ideally be that their primary language. So that's something I feel like, we're still like understanding how to do, which is why I think maybe, there should be some change, and I feel like our generation will bring that about. Like, that's the thing about our generation, right? I know we're in this, like, we are primarily communicating in English, but we're also very in the know of what there needs to be. Like, for example, I feel like when I was younger, the generation that, we were raised by, they were very much all about what the norms are and adhere to that. Whereas our generation, we understand what the problems may be, and we do make sure that we do everything and anything to change that. So I do feel like, not just with the Painted Jackal, I think there will be a lot of brands like who will, showcase this. There are actually so many brands like online who are actually highlighting our culture, like our language, our identity. And I really like that, like I feel like it should be celebrated.
Yeah, it definitely showed it. I'm glad that more and more people are understanding that our language needs to be celebrated, and it's no longer just, oh, why are you speaking in Urdu when kids should only learn English? And
Yeah.
speaking of kids, you've spoken a little bit right now about your routine, about balancing motherhood with work. But what does the reality of that look like that Instagram can't always show? We see, mommy influencers and kids influencers, and they're showing this very sort of balanced, amazing life where everything is being managed. And I'm sure that you and I both know that life doesn't actually look like that. So, what
Yeah.
does the reality of a mother of two who's building her own brand, who's doing everything on her own time, really look like?
Honestly, like, it was really hard in the beginning, when decided to do this. And it actually also kind of started with, the fact that my daughter would be up all night. So I started this when my daughter was around 3.5 months old or 4 months old, and she would be up all night, literally be up all night. And I've weirdly always been a night person. um I don't know why, what it is about my brain, but I function better at night always, even though I'm trying to become more of a morning person, but I've just functioned better at night. So I was like, you know what, if she's up all night anyway, why don't I take that to my advantage, and, like, I started working or whatever. So the thing is, like, what I had to do was I had to, like, create a very structured kind of routine for myself. In the beginning, it was really hard because I would literally spend all night working, and then, like, I would have, like, sleep, like, very fragmentedly. Like, I would sometimes wake up at 10, sometimes wake up at 12, like, or wake up like multiple times. And then as the time progressed, my children started getting older, I started to create a routine. So my routine is, Monday to Friday, I try my best that I work from 11 to 5:30, and in those moments, so I do have help. I have a daytime nanny, and I have a nanny that comes in the evening, so they're really, really helpful. But I make sure that I work from my own home because I want that I'm around my children, so if anything ever happens. So my children come inside, or like, if I want to take a small break, like I just go outside, see my children. But the thing is, like, on every day I realize either I'm not going to get any work done today, or like there also are days where I'm like, okay, I didn't give my children that much time today. And I feel like it's so weird because yes, some days I have guilt, like for not being able to finish my work, because I'm like, I'm already so far behind my deadline. Like I actually originally wanted to like launch in August, but like there's so many delays, there's so many different things that we had to do, which uh, think of January maybe for like our next launch. I do feel guilty about most of that, but when the days I actually don't get to spend too much time with my kids, I feel more guilt then. Like my thing is after 5:30, I need to dedicate my entire time to them. Like I also am trying to focus on my personal health. Like I do try to go to the gym also at least two times a week or 3 times a week. I'm trying to play like a sport if I can, but like those things I try to do um at least like three to 4 times a week. But yeah, like honestly, it is really tough. Like there are days where you get nothing done and you end up spending time with your child, or there are days where you feel like, okay, you know what, you haven't spent enough time with your child, and I feel like that guilt is way stronger than the guilt of not being able to get your work done.
I mean, I can completely relate. My daughter is 3 months old, and I already feel like I'm sort of that
Yeah.
mental guilt of juggling. Like, uh, am I available for her? Do I do something else? Do I figure out a workout schedule? There's we're juggling so many hats, and I think that is
Yeah.
just probably an additional challenge on top of the challenges of already working, building a brand in a country like Pakistan. Where you don't have the kind of resources or sort of system. Okay, oh, this is my vendor, and this is the machine, and this is how I do this, and this is how everyone else in the country has been doing it, because really no one has been building this kind of project. So, what have
Yeah.
those challenges looked like working as a designer in Pakistan, and what advice would you have for anyone wanting to navigate those?
The one thing I would say with this brand is that, so when I started this, I had this idea, and like I think I worked on it for a month or whatever, and then a month later I like told my sister about it. And when I told my sister, because my sister, so I told you about my sister already, she was a high achiever and I was like, more like the creative person. So I told my sister and she found this really appealing. So she was like, you know what, I want to do this with you. So, like, I would say this is not just in terms of a designer, but just in terms of starting the brand. The one help I did have was the support of my sister, where like she was really helping me out with like how to create the content, like interacting with the customers, like like just different things where I was like, I just cannot wrap my head around this because I'm too busy designing or trying to procure like things that I need. So I would say designing I've been doing for a very long time now. Like I started designing when I was, I guess in 2015. That was when I joined advertising. Before that, I was in a university. I was in Beacon House National University, but I didn't end up completing it. So I started working. And that's when I learned how to design. And I've always been really fond of it. Branding is one of the things that I've absolutely loved. But when it came to the painted jackal, I realized it's not just about designing. I have to make this design come to life. Like I have to make an actual product out of it. So designing, I would say, wouldn't be that hard. Like the only issue with designing nowadays, I would say, is that AI is taking over, which is something that keeps bothering me. I feel like it can't create what I create right now, like, maybe logos and stuff, but I think it's not far from that. So I would say, like, to people, like, my advice to people would be, like, create something that is so out of the box that AI can't even think of doing it, like, just, use your art for something that could benefit somebody in, our society, or, like, like, do some change for the better. But yeah, I was saying that, the thing that I found really hard was creating like a product out of my design. That was the hard bit. That's really hard. That's still hard, to be honest. Because initially, so when I decided to do the painted jackal, my idea was to create a city. So the first product that I actually made was this prototype of the Islamabad city. So there was these blocks, and usme, like, there was Centaurus, and then there was Faisal Mosque, there was Lok Versa, like, all of the landmarks that children would recognize, and then shops and like little people or whatever. And there was like this board. And I was like, I got the prototype. I was really excited. And I was like, you know what? I feel like I didn't exactly know how I felt towards it. Um, I got this prototype from China, by the way. This is the first product that I made. I contacted a lot of Chinese vendors. I found two like decent ones at decent rates, and then I got them shipped here. And then I tried to see if my son and other children like interact with it, and I felt like that it wasn't as strong of a product. After which I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to make flashcards. I'll do that. In order to make the flashcards, I had to find and shortlist around 100 printers, and of which I contacted around like 20. I got prototypes from around six, and I then shortlisted around three, and then one of them ended up working out for me. So yeah, like this was hard. That was really hard. And even right now for the puzzles that I'm making, it's really hard. So the one thing I realized is that in Pakistan, because we don't have a toy industry, uh, and I really want my products to be made in Pakistan to the best of their ability, like as much as I can. Like I'm not saying that my products will never be sourced from another country. Like I don't even think that's possible because there's a lot of stuff in Pakistan that doesn't adhere to the international standards, and you have to really go out and look for that. But I'm going to try my best that whatever I can do or manage in Pakistan, I do. So that's the thing. Like, yahan par, like the one thing that I'm really finding hard is like going out, finding vendors, understanding different kinds of papers and like gray boards and just like materials that you need in order to make the product. Because the thing is, like, I actually want to make products that are like toys that are wooden and paper-based toys. So if I want to make paper-based toys, I need to go to a printer, a really good one. If I want to make wooden-based toys, I have to find a carpenter. There is no toy manufacturing company in Pakistan. So that is a huge challenge, I would say. And if anybody wants anything to come to life, like I would say that, you just have to give it your all. Like, it is a lot of struggle. It is true whatever they show you in all of these movies. Like, you have to really work hard in order to find like the right source or the right thing or the right fit for you. Because not everybody can make you a good quality product. That comes with a lot of, testing and trying out and figuring out. So yeah, I think I've like said a lot now.
No, I'm glad. I think you've really described that sort of journey well, and I think it's going to give our listeners a good understanding of what it takes to start something completely new with everything that you've been doing. So I think just to wrap things up, what's one project you've worked on, whether it's with the Painted Jackal or with your experience before that, that has been your absolute favorite and why?
Honestly, I worked in advertising for 8 years, and the one thing I really enjoyed doing was branding. I can't exactly think of the one thing uh that I like really enjoyed. So I would say like if I had to list it of the things that I'm not gonna list one because that might be really hard, but the three things that I really enjoy doing, the painted jackal for sure. Like I think that might be number one on my list because I feel like of all the years of working and always thinking that there's a void that I need to fill, and that I've always wanted to create something of my own, just create something, not even build, make a business, just create something. And I feel like Painted Jackal did that because I'm so enthusiastic about this idea. I so actually believe in this idea. Like I really feel like this is missing, and I feel like this needs to be out there more. So the Painted Jackal is definitely number one. Number two would be branding. I loved working in branding in my advertising agency for the international clients we had or like the local clients we had. And then, yeah, recently I've been working on creating these sets for these display production, the Fourth Wall Studios. That I really enjoy, honestly. Like the whole thing, like, just coming up with the idea of what the whole set should be about, like, creating like different rooms and then different like kind of like background scenes, like that would be one of my favorite things too. So yeah, like I'm sorry I can't list one, but yeah, if you were to say what are my three favorite things, like this would be it.
Thank you so much for sharing, and I am also very excited to see what the Painted Jackal has to bring, next and everything you're doing. So I know I'm going to be following your work, and thank you so much for joining us, for sharing everything that you did. And to all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in once again. I will be linking Maria's work and the Painted Jackal in the description down below. So I would really encourage anyone who has little ones to order the flashcards and to keep following her work, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot more for parents and children to benefit from.